Many people say this isn't a real sport, but it doesn't have to be. Even the best in the world have proven to fall against the ones that can master one punch 1,000 times. These are the cream of the crop in a not-so-familiar world that sees thousands of new faces every single hour. These scientists of speed who only push themselves further in such an unfathomable environment because they felt like it. This is the mad dance of a hyper-focused mind trained to feel force through only their senses of sight and their sense of flow. A flow strong enough to know when a mistake has been made before it's even happened. Not to mention the superhuman instincts needed to tell their fingers when to pull the trigger. This is the culmination of eons of training, the final test of reactions and wits, and the endless rampage to be the one who stands tallest on a pedestal with no physical form. These are the Kings of Kings. This is Formula Apex. Welcome back to the 7th round of Apex King of Kings. If you remember what happened back in Czechia, it was a race of general chaos as the rain shifted up and down and up and down, and nobody really knew what the best compound to pick was. But in the end, it was Beastiva who came out on top and closed the gap even more on the front runners, and is looking to try and get himself in the top 3 right in front of his adoring fans in Britain, as Silverstone is the next track we're headed towards. One of the fastest tracks in the world considering how many sectors demand your full attention, but its conversion into Formula Apex was a little bit iffy considering a lot of it plays great, but then there are some sections that are glitchy up the hole and will throw you off your line, or even throw you off your wheels if you're not paying attention, with special mention going to Zhou. Whoever coded Zhou, I'm gonna slap you. We're also gonna see a surprise appearance from the Singaporean driver, Otto. Now, Otto has actually been working on a lot of leagues behind the scenes, but they specifically decided to try and enter this one particular race as a mark of their freedom. I'm not entirely sure what that refers to, but honestly, good for them. So, will Beastiva be able to pull it off in front of his adoring fans? And how good will Otto do in their one singular appearance? Well, that's what you're here to find out. Will Beastiva be able to get a home win? Will JZ be able to do the same thing to bring himself back to his winning ways? Or will the guest star of Otto be able to pull a rabbit out of a hat? It's lights out and away we go, and HVSK got the best launch by a landslide as they're careening themselves ahead. But considering that they're not in the 2021 car, they're naturally going to have some competition. Crumman's starting to fall down the order despite having a really good launch. And flicking through the order, Cool Gamer Kid already has a bit of a spin. Now, Cool Gamer Kid has always gone for one of the quicker Red Bulls, typically the 2024, but sometimes varying it a little bit. But the one time he's decided to go for something different, which is the McLaren, it's seeming to be backfiring on him. HVSK has decided to shift up his idea a little bit, as rather than going for the 2021, he's gone for the 2023 Red Bull, just to give himself just a couple more bonus points. And this is the original one as well. And currently, the front runner that everyone's trying to catch is Ethan Gaming, a driver who has always been down in the slums when it comes to his positions, but he's consistently been showing up race after race after race, so he's likely enjoying this little bit of a lead he's got right now. Of course, the Canadian driver does still have quite a lot to play for if he wants to try and take a win or a podium, as HVSK is still battling with all of his might. And hold on, Otto is actually in second. I didn't expect him to be doing this good, but now they're heading to Zhou, one of the buggiest corners in the entire game, and everyone seems to get through it relatively well, and you can already see that there's starting to be a bit of a gap forming. Real Immortals is actually doing good as well, but this is a driver everyone's keeping a very close eye on after the stunt he pulled in the previous race. He could have been in an incredible spot had he not tried to be a bit fancy with his tricks. JZ has actually gone back to using the 2022 car, and he's still fighting with the people at the front. Could this be JZ's ticket back to winning ways? If it is, then that's going to be one hell of a way to make his comeback. But HVSK, who's made the decision to slightly downgrade his ride, is the driver who's currently doing the best. And considering that he is the one in the most aggressive title fight with JZ, he's going to need all the bonus points he can get if he wants to catch up in time. Because I feel like JZ is going to be taking risk after risk after risk with every single race, just to try and make sure he keeps himself in a good position. Still recording? Yes, we are. But of course, there are still some very high-profile challenges that are facing off with them. As like I said, Ethan Gaming has been doing incredible considering where he's usually been when it comes down to his position. Arceus's Ditto is also doing fantastic considering that this is their first time racing after normally being a steward that watches behind them. And considering the vehicle he's using, Krumpen is actually doing great by only losing about 4 seconds to the much more superior cars. That right there is a really good show of consistency, and there's been a flip! There's been a flip! Who is it? It's Real Immortals! The Indian Wonder flips his car, and just like that, he loses his position to even Krumpen! Considering he was fighting with the front, that right there is going to be a huge sting to his ego. But hold on! I feel like HVSK might have made a mistake because JZ50 is now dueling with him! If this isn't a way to truly pronounce that they're still in the championship duel, I don't know what is. And on top of that, remember, this is Beastiva's home race, and he's in one of the fastest cars in the game. So he's got a home field advantage, and he's got a car advantage. And if these two are still keeping ahead of a Beastiva who was almost on world record pace with his practice times, then that right there really shows the focus that these drivers are putting into everything. But of course, there are still 17 grueling laps left of such a difficult track, so we can't exactly call any winners or losers just yet. But it's JZ50 who still currently has the upper hand. And would you look at this as well? A 2021 Red Bull, a 2022 Red Bull, and a 2023 Red Bull. This is Red Bull Generations. Oh, but JZ takes that curve in a little bit of a shaky fashion. HVSK still just about managing to keep himself on top, but Beastiva finds a much better line, and he goes straight for the main championship rival and takes that lead with prejudice. Or, well, not the lead, takes that curve with prejudice. But of course, now the real question is if he can catch JZ. JZ takes a bit of an unorthodox line to try and go all the way there. That doesn't necessarily count as a cut. It's more so just a fancy league racing line. So I hope nobody comes to try and question that. But now the home hero has a real chance to take the lead. He's taking some really ballsy lines, and he slides into the lead just ahead of JZ50. What an amazing showcase from them, as now it's a top 3 battle between 3 Red Bulls at the top of their game. All from different generations as well. There's JZ with the 2022 car, Beastiva with the 2021 car, and HVSK with the 2023 car. This is definitely quite the battle. I couldn't think of a word to fill that in. Oh, but hold on. Beastiva, I think, has finally got the position, or rather gone far enough to have the game counted, but he doesn't get DRS from that little curve over there. HVSK does, though, so that may potentially keep him in this battle for the podiums. But I'm not sure. HVSK is starting to slip further and further away as JZ is still trying to keep himself in the game when it comes to keeping up with this English bullet. But of course, there is still 15 laps worth for Beastiva to potentially make a mistake, and JZ is very close to the DRS range of Beastiva. Remember, these are for some crucial championship points for both sides. Beastiva wants to try and make a jump to try and fight against JZ later, and JZ is trying to maximize his points in this race to make up for a few instances where he didn't show up, but he doesn't get DRS! He's just too far away from Beastiva to get it, and if Beastiva can keep himself consistent while his tyres are still wearing, that right there might decide the entire race. Flicking back through the field a little bit, Ethan Gaming has fallen behind just a little bit when we all thought he was gonna be battling for a win, with his main battler being Arto, and Arto has proven themselves to have some pretty strong hands when it comes to this particular battle right here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what the former moderator for literally everything can pull out of their hands. So, as they said, the reason they're doing this is because they feel a lot more free. They'll have to give me more context on what that means later, but yeah, good for them. Beastiva is starting to reach into a much further gap, but he actually ended up cutting a track limit in the process, so Beastiva has to be very careful, despite the fact that he has a fastest lap that's over, despite the fact that his fastest lap is over 2 seconds faster than his closest comparable foe. It only takes one string of mistakes for that to evaporate. And remember, he's using the car with the fastest tire wear rate in the entire game. So the further we go, the harder it'll get for Beastiva. And also, there is the possible opportunity that JZ just doesn't box, considering how tough the pit stops are for Britain in the first place. So you've got to be very careful with how you plan your tire strategy in these races, or rather on this particular track. The gap is starting to fall to about a 2.3 second one now, but still, this is looking fairly good for JZ, because even though Beastiva is gonna soar up the standings, he's still gonna be outscoring HVSK, who's his closest rival, and he's gonna be outscoring him by a lot. Arceus' Ditto and Crumbin are actually having a bit of a duel with each other after they've had a bit of a scrap beforehand. Wait, no, hold on. Wait, did they make a mistake? Yeah, I think Otto might have made a major mistake, and now they've started to fall back quite a bit. If they have a recording of that, I'd love to see what caused that. Yeah, I don't know quite how that happened. And HVSK takes it very well, and HVSK taps one of the sausage curbs. He didn't necessarily have that much of a chance to try and catch up with everyone else, but that right there, I feel like, is the coffin nail for what could be their chances of catching up. And now, Ethan Gaming, if he keeps things really clean, may potentially be able to catch up to HVSK at a later stage of this race, as now, the real fight has shifted to both JZ and Beastiva. Because remember, Beastiva may have a 3-second gap, but it only takes one track limit for the dynamic to completely shift. Of course, Beastiva is not only a really formidable foe on this track, but it's also his home run, so he's going to have quite a lot of focus specifically for that reason, because he doesn't want to let down his own crowd, and he is making that known. Flicking through the rest of the field, the battle between Crumbin and Arceus is actually getting very heated, as they're actually starting to close in on Ethan as well. I'm actually not too sure who's going to pull all out on... I'm not sure who's going to come out on top between all of these, considering the varying degrees of skill, experience, vehicles, etc. So, really, who's going to come out on top here? I really don't know. But also, Arceus' Ditto was able to get some DRS. Does the drummer behind him get some buggy DRS? No, Ibrandad sticks in 8th without it. But of course, Ibrandad has had some terrible luck when it comes to... Oh, is that a spin? Is that a full-scale spin? Yes, Crumbin has fully spun out. They were on a pretty good run beforehand, but now... Wait, and another spin out! And a broken wing from Ibrandad! What? I didn't even see, like, the curve. They just sort of lagged into it onto my end. That was That was quite the visual. So, yeah, Red is probably going to want to pit a little bit earlier than everyone else, just so he can get his wing back. But now, Arceus' Ditto and Ethan are now dueling to basically decide who gets P4. But remember, even though Ethan has the faster car, the tire wear of the 2021 car is really going to be just taking its toll on him right now. So Arceus' Ditto has a very, very good chance to basically cut ahead without any remorse. And all it takes is one tighter line that the 2021 car can't go for. And I think he may have found it, considering they're just about to reach Cop's corner. Is Arceus' Ditto going to find a better line? I think that looked like it to me, so they're going to be carrying more speed into the upcoming DRS zone. But of course, they still have Beckett's and Beckett's to deal with. Who manages that better? Both of them doing it as on the line as possible. But look at how much you can feel the tire wear coming from Ethan there. So Ethan has to settle for sticking behind Arceus' Ditto, as none of them actually get DRS. That's an interesting sight. Beastiva has now extended the gap to about 5 seconds, and it's seeming like he's going to keep a very nice hold on it. But remember, he has another track limit that he's actually cut. Look at that additional red sector. But then, also, if he flare Ink a little bit further back, HVSK is now starting to get dangerously close to 4th place. So, if he keeps making these mistakes, then he may not be able to even stand on this pedestal that he had prepared for himself. So, this risk that he had to try and go for a slightly slower car, it's completely backfired on him. So hold on, I'm just realizing something. With the position JZ and Beastiva are both in right now, this is going to be a British 1-2. The two drivers who are having their home race today not being able to do any better when it comes to their positioning. Yeah, fancy that. What was that voice crack? Okay, Ethan Gaming and Arceus' Ditto are still absolutely on the edge right here. Going as far with the curves as they can without cutting a track limit. Who takes Cop's corner better here? And again, Arceus is just able to get away with more thanks to the better tire preservation of their car. Ethan, again, doesn't get any DRS, so they're going to keep relatively close to each other for the time being. HVSK is still starting to slip further and further back after making multiple track limits worth of mistakes, and Beastiva is still holding on to the Beastiva is still holding on to the fastest lap with an iron grip. But now we approach the halfway mark of the race, and a very critical moment for Beastiva, because either he can stick out with the rest of the race on this worn compound to see if he can nurse the car back, or he can take the risk of boxing, which is really, really long on this track, to see if he can keep himself with a better conditioned car with this kind of lead. But of course, that determines on whether JZ wants to box as well. And JZ has been proven to be a pretty good driver when it comes to nursing his tires. So really, it comes down to whether Beastiva will feel comfortable taking that risk or not, because it's either he has to catch up to someone who's good at controlling an okay car, or his car goes from bad to worse to absolutely atrocious. Beastiva doesn't make the decision to box just yet. He may be thinking about doing it in a little bit. He may be thinking about doing it a little bit later, but again, I'm not too sure. But now, in a complete twist, JZ has decided to box. He had less to lose if he didn't box, but he's jumped the gun first, so this could be an interesting shift on the dynamic. HVSK hasn't decided to box, but now, as you can see here, Arceus is getting very, very close to... Hold on, I think Ethan Gaming might have made some sort of a mistake. I'm not sure, but I think his tire wear must have absolutely gotten the better of him, as he's lost 4th to Arceus, and now he's made the decision to box on lap 11. So yeah, we'll see if that amounts to anything from him. JZ's about 12 seconds behind, but he had a particularly quick pit stop, and he's hungry for an overtake. Wait, no, that's 24 seconds. Look, HVSK's now behind him, but HVSK hasn't boxed at all. JZ has been able to find an entire box's worth of a gap on HVSK who's using this car, so maybe that's an indicator that the 2023 car isn't exactly cut out for him. But of course, we'll just have to wait and see how the rest of this ends up going. But also, oh, JZ! JZ ended up slipping off at the side of the track. I wasn't able to get the best view of that because of what I was flicking through. But this could potentially turn his race on the top of its head, because Beastiva has now made the decision to box. If he can keep this relatively clean, then he's gonna stay relatively far ahead. All JZ had to do was keep things clean, and he spun out when it was all to play for. JZ's going across Stowe now, and he slightly slips it out at Stowe, but it's a decent recovery. Yeah, JZ would have been relatively close to Beastiva had he not made that slip up, but now Beastiva is ahead once again in the fastest car with fresh tires. So I feel like at this point, Beastiva has essentially secured himself a win, but now we're just going to have to see whether JZ, with his better conditioned tires, can catch up to HVSK, who's now starting to bleed. Because really think about it right now. There is quite a lot that rides on this. If JZ is unable to beat HVSK, then he's still going to get some decent points when it comes to the bonuses, but it's still not going to be that much. However, if JZ can beat HVSK, then that's going to be incredible news for the British driver, because that means that his closest rival isn't going to score anywhere near the amount of points that he is, and that also means that his potential championship battle is going to look a lot more doable if he can keep himself on top with these races. But of course, this may just be a fluke considering what HVSK tried to do. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. Here comes Stowe again, the most buggy corner in the game, or one of, and JZ controls it quite nicely. And now HVSK has, no, he hasn't. He's just going for the weird line again. The league racing lines in this game are weird. But yeah, in all of the confusion and all of the chaos, Krumben has actually found his way into 4th place while using the 2007 car, no less. This is incredible. If he's able to maintain this, then that right there is going to net him 18 points for using a relatively weak car. That right there is going to be incredible for Krumben, considering that he is in a pretty tight battle of his own. But now, HVSK and JZ are now neck and neck with each other. But of course, HVSK has the advantage in terms of the stronger car. JZ has the faster, fresher tires. So I'm not entirely sure who's going to stand out on top when it comes to this. But naturally, considering HVSK has been running an entire race on this compound, that's going to start looking ugly for him. And I think that's starting to prove itself as JZ absolutely soars off. And remember, he's using the car with the highest top speed in the game. And top speeds are very much rewarded in Silverstone. Oh, and he takes Stowe quite nicely. And Beastiva still kept things relatively clean as well. And he's only got about 5 or so laps to go. So if Beastiva can keep this clean, then that's going to look fantastic for his championship battle, as even though he's not doing as good as HVSK, this is going to get him just that little bit closer. And granted, it's only going to be a flat 25 points compared to the couple extra that HVSK is going to get for using a 2023 frontrunner. But naturally, Beastiva is going to need every single little point that he can get. JZ's still hungry and he's looking for more. However, I feel like another overtake at some point here is probably imminent. Alan Walker has kept himself relatively clean as well, but considering the weak condition of his car, he hasn't been able to really make the most out of it. Ibrandan, who's actually gone with the 2024 car after making that major blunder with the wing earlier, isn't looking to be in the best spot either, but quite frankly, considering where he is on leaderboards, I think for him, just finishing is going to be enough of an accomplishment. Ethan Gaming, after initially being a prospect to take the whole thing, is now fallen down to 6th place. if he'll be able to make any more positions will likely come down to if someone else in front of them crashes, considering the gaps that are here. RTS's Ditto has won the battle for 4th place, but he lost the war for 4th place. As right now, Crumbin has an incredible gap on RTS's Ditto that he now has to make up. Hang on. Wait, it's only a 3-second gap now. Did Crumbin make a major mistake? Well, actually, it's 5 seconds now, but that's very doable considering the time they have left. So really, I'm not entirely sure who's going to win this battle for 4th. My money would be on Ditto, but quite frankly, considering the rabbits that Crumbin has been able to pull out of hats, I'm not too sure. This may be a battle that comes down to the wire again. Look at how shaky the transmission looks from his end. Maybe it's the laggy replaying that's talking, but I'm not sure. It's seeming like a decent enough gap is built for all of the drivers to essentially say, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable taking this spot. And JZ has been powering past HVSK, whose risk to not pit for new tyres doesn't seem like it's exactly working out. And Crumbin, I think Crumbin is actually starting to catch up to HVSK. Could Crumbin make it onto the podium with a 2007 car in the dry? I'm not sure. But look at the lap times. HVSK is actually going 4 seconds a lap slower than Crumbin, but maybe that was due to a bit of a fluke. I'm not too sure. But still, Crumbin does have a bit of an issue behind him, considering Ditto has been getting closer and closer and closer, and now the gap has only gone on down to about 3 or so seconds. So this, I feel like, if HVSK slows down too much, is going to be the real battle for the podium. But of course, Arceus's Ditto is not going to get that distance for free, and Crumbin has proven himself to be really good when it comes to the variety vehicles, which is the exact kind of skill set you need if you wanna excel in the King of Kings. HVSK gets a decent lap, but it still pales in comparison to Arceus's Ditto, who's making 3 seconds on him per lap. If he can keep up this pace, then he'll just barely be able to catch up by lap 20. So yeah, this is actually a proper battle that's happening right now, and I'm not too sure who's going to stand out on top for it. Crumbin still has to keep things very clean when it comes to the lines he's taking. 25.8's are very solid considering the tyre wear he's dealing with right now. HVSK, of course, is still the main championship contender when it comes to catching up to JZ, so I feel like he's not going to give that up so easy. He does have a little bit of a snap when it comes to taking that curb, though. But look here, Crumbin just took a second's worth of a chomp out of HVSK, and while it wasn't the cleanest for them, they were still able to generally keep the car on the road. But now the gap goes back up to about 10 seconds. I feel like HVSK must have had a really good last sector over there if that was the case. Crumbin spins! Crumbin spins! After such a good run, Crumbin makes a mistake at Zhou, and now their dream run of making it onto the podium with the 2007 car has come to a screeching halt. I feel like Ethan might even have a chance to jump them. Yes, they have! And with just one mistake, Crumbin has fallen all the way to 6th. And now they're disappointedly walking over to the pit box just to make sure they maintain that position. Where did it all go wrong? But of course, that means that now it's Arceus's Ditto who's in 4th place, and I'm not entirely sure if he currently has the pace to completely catch up to HVSK or not. It's a 10-second gap, there's 3 laps to go, and Arceus's Ditto may be taking 3-second snippets out, but he just made a major mistake in the first sector, and I feel like that, unless HVSK makes a mistake, has just sealed the positions. Okay, flicking for the cars that are still in the race. After making that major mistake, Crumbin is now in 6th, but they've pitted for new tyres just to make sure that no one else can catch up. So they basically secured 6th for themselves. Ethan Gaming has been jumping around a lot for their first time not using the 2024 Red Bull, and it seems to have actually worked out quite nicely for them, as Cool Gamer Kid, who took an even bigger risk, is sitting in 9th with the 2003 car. Definitely not the right time to pull that out. HVSK is now in 3rd place, and it seems like he's gonna secure that, considering that his closest rival isn't exactly making that much time on it. But then, the person he's trying to catch up to, JZ 500, has made an incredible showcase. Not only annihilating HVSK's time, but doing it in an even slower car. So that right there is gonna give him a lot more points to work with in this race to the finish. Because remember, after this, depending on whether Melbourne gets added to the calendar, we have only 8 or 7 races left in the season. So considering that JZ still has the championship lead, he's going to have to do everything he can to hold on to that small shred of a lead that he's had since the beginning. But naturally, all eyes this race have been on Beastiva, who has been so fast in the practice sessions that he actually nearly broke the world record with just a casual time, much to the surprise and bewilderment of everyone else. So everyone definitely has to give a round of applause to that. Well done to him. But on top of that, there are also pretty big ramifications for this on the championship, because Beastiva has won 3 races in a row now, and I'm not entirely sure how close he's going to get to HVSK with this win, but considering that Beastiva started quite a bit later than everyone else, and he's won almost every race he's entered, I feel like Beastiva is now at a point where we can say he is an honest title contender. But naturally, considering that HVSK has already made a lot of ground, and Beastiva has even more ground to make than that, I feel like this race to the finish is gonna be tight. Hold on a second, the gap between HVSK and RCS's Ditto has been getting shorter than I expected. I think it must have been from a small blunder that HVSK must have made. If HVSK keeps making those small mistakes, then that 5-second gap is going to fall to nothing before Beastiva makes it to the finish. But of course, there's only one lap to decide it as the Brit starts on his final lap. So will HVSK be able to keep his head cool and stay within the podiums? We'll just have to wait and see, as RCS's Ditto is only getting closer and closer. If RCS's Ditto does this, it will be a huge blow to HVSK's championship run. But of course, he does still have quite a lot of ground to make up. Beastiva's made it past the first few corners and is nearing the end of Sector 1. So naturally, hold on a second, that gap has gotten really short. Oh wow, there's only 3 seconds left in that. So I feel like HVSK is now being put under quite a lot of pressure to try and keep himself close, and he's only 1 mistake away from completely losing it. Beastiva cuts a track limit, but there's not really much he has to lose right now. RCS's Ditto is now getting so tantalizingly close to HVSK that it's starting to hurt him, considering that there's only about a second and a half with that, but Beastiva has now reached and made it to Maggots and Beckett, so if RCS's Ditto wants to make a jump on HVSK, he's gonna have to do it fast. But of course, 1.5 seconds is still 1.5 seconds, and I feel like HVSK has done enough to keep that lead, so let's cut our attention back to the front 2 drivers, because these 2 have walked up to their home race and have not left anything on the table. Beastiva has had some earth-shattering pace, and today, on his home race and his home run, with his crowd cheering for him all the way, Beastiva wins the British Grand Prix! JZ50 gets his best result in ages, finishing us in 2nd place to make it a 1-2 for the British drivers. HVSK. Hey, I'm sorry that I'm butting in a little bit soon after the race ended, but right here, I thought that HVSK secured 3rd place, but considering what everyone said and how they specifically wanted Arto to win, considering that they actually got the overtake on the final lap, I decided to make a change to the rule I mentioned in the previous race, where every duel that's not close to the finish line is settled when the leader finishes the race, because where the finish line was and what constituted as close to it was a little bit vague. So, to make things clearer, this rule will only apply to cars that have been lapped. If the sets of cars that are doing a battle are within a lap of the leader, then the duel will end when they cross the finish line. And I would have loved to do like a dramatic edit right at the end, but the problem is, because of the way I commentated this, editing it to look cool would be quite literally impossible, so I'm just gonna skip to the end. Sorry! This was a race of reversed fortunes, but not for JZ, instead for HVSK. As HVSK had an incredible run in the past couple races where he just continued to climb up and up and up, slowly getting closer to JZ piece by piece, but then something seemed to shift in Silverstone because not only did HVSK fail to score more points than JZ, he didn't even make it in the top 3 after a really good run from Arto. But here's the thing. Beastiva not only scored more points than both of them, he won the entire race. Granted, he probably received a little bit of a boost considering that he was more focused in his home race, but considering how close Beastiva has gotten to HVSK now, I feel like at this point it's quite safe to say that there are 3 people with a chance of getting the title. JZ, who's been the early bird since the beginning and is just trying to maintain what he's already got. HVSK, who's consistently been getting good results and has slowly started closing in. And Beastiva, who started even later and had an even bigger hill to climb, but against all the odds is climbing it all the same. So yeah, with us now either passing or reaching the halfway point of the season, depending on whether Australia gets added or not, things are closer than they've ever been.